By Bradley Concrete and Lamcon Ready Mix, family-owned business serving Cleveland for over 40 years. Call them at 423-479-4541 or visit lamcon.us to find out more.
All right, Mix 104.1, time now for a in-studio interview on the radio and also on MixTV.tv. We're going to welcome in our friend, Dr. Chris Lesar is here from VIC, which is Vascular Institute of Chattanooga. We're going to talk a little bit today about men's health and some health risk and those types topics. So we're going to dive right into that now. Dr. Lesar, how are you doing this morning?
Oh, doing great this morning. It's first thing I like to say is I just love the partnership with this team here and talking about health for the region. This is June and it's Men's Health Month, and if you haven't noticed, men and women are very different creatures. And medically,
glad you brought that up.
Yeah, medically, they are as well. And some kind of important facts is, these are hard facts, but 1 out of 2 men die from heart disease.
Oh, goodness.
1 out of 3 women die of heart disease. So they're very different. And, for men, the major reasons why, people might pass is from either blockage of the arteries or problems with the heart failing. And usually when the heart fails, it's because of high blood pressure. So there are many different things that happen in our bodies that can affect our ability to live longer. So men right now in the United States can live to about 75 years of age. Women tend to live about 5 years longer. And part of that has to do a lot with lifestyle and what we do. We're always interested about health and how do we become healthier. And, most people don't really appreciate things in life, especially their health, until they lose it. As soon as you lose it, then you start to thinking about, okay, I've got this problem, I got this problem, and how do I get through those things? One thing I would tell people that are listening is, there are some major things that you have to think about. One is get good sleep, get good exercise, eat right, and try to get a rhythm of your life. Get up in the morning and get light in your eyes. That's so critically important. We don't really think about that. When we get light in our eyes, all the hormonal systems start to run in our body properly. The other last thing that's really important is watch that high sugar diet. That's a major problem for most of us. 40% of men in Tennessee are considered obese. And they'll self-report obesity. And a lot of that has to do with how we eat. So it has to do with the high sugar diets, and we eat pretty constantly. We'll have 4th meal at the end of the day.
Right.
And that's a problem. And so, if we want to actually, be more healthy when it comes to our diet, it's think more of a ketogenic type of diet. Like a low fat, like a fat meat-based diet, and then lots of plants. Lots of plants are important in your diet. And then start cutting out some of those extra sugars that you take in. Consider doing something called intermittent fasting. If you have a weight problem, and that's an issue for the men in the region, intermittent fasting is not hard. It sounds weird. It sounds like it's a hard thing to do.
Right.
But it's just skip breakfast. And if you can concentrate your diet into a 8-hour period, a 10-hour period, that other time period, your body is burning fat. And that's a great way to actually balance your life a little bit better. So, for me, every day I deal with disease. I mean, we talk about Men's Health Month. We want to be healthy. But I also, some people are actually have fairly advanced disease. And problems that we have are, people that are smokers or that are diabetics, people with kidney disease or high blood pressure, people with high cholesterol. Those things tend to start to block and plug arteries. And so we're only as old as our arteries. I'm going to say that again. We're only as old as our arteries, and we expect that most people should be able to live to about 120 years of age. Now, when you have smoked for 40 years, my patients come into my office and they say, well, I'm 60 years old, and how long you've been smoking? 40 years. I said, add those two numbers together, that's 100. We only lived about 120. And so, those kind of things can start to affect the arteries. Or someone with high blood pressure. When someone has high blood pressure, the way to think about it is that the arteries are under pressure and the heart has to beat against that pressure every beat. 60 times a minute, 3,600 times an hour, and the heart can fail over time. If you do that for years of high blood pressure, then that heart has to beat against that pressure, and that can start to affect the cardiovascular system. So plugged arteries, high blood pressure, those are the things that really lead to cardiovascular death for men and women.
Again, Dr. Chris Lesar is here with the Vascular Institute of Chattanooga talking about Men's Health Month and some very important risks that all men should be aware of and what they can do to, we talk about this a lot here. It's not the longevity of life, it's the quality of life. I mean, if you're 85 and you're sitting on the couch, you can't move because of all these type of problems you're talking about, then really what kind of life are you living, So you need to me, I think you need to concentrate on that quality of life and start as early as possible doing all the things you're talking, eating right, exercising, getting good rest, and all those things. And then your longevity of life the quality will be better, right?
Absolutely. And it's, there's a lot to all this. And, some of the first signs I think that, we want to know is if there's a problem. Some of the problems are if someone has a problem with walking. So if a man has a problem with walking where he has pain when he walks, or pressure in his legs when he walks, or inability to walk for a distance, that's going to start to affect the ability to mow the yard and get up and down the stairs. And now I'm not 17 anymore, and I want to be 17. How do I get back to that? Erectile dysfunction is another major issue for men and women in this region, and it's again, that's a sign that there's something wrong within the body. So if there's a problem with walking, if there's feelings of pain in the legs, if there is, we call it flow problems. If someone has a flow problem, they may have feeling of pain in their legs, or loss of sensation, or an open sore that doesn't heal, or weakness with walking. Those are the signs that you might have a flow problem. And that's where a peripheral vascular surgeon can actually correct some of those problems and get that patient walking again. If I can get you walking again, we can start talking about exercise. Exercise is one of the 4 key components of staying healthy. Eating right, exercising, getting good sleep, getting light in your body. Those are the things that are important, to stay healthy. Now, when it comes to erectile dysfunction, as we get older, we are not 17 anymore, and that is a sign that there may be some problems with maybe glucose intolerance, or we call that early diabetes or pre-diabetics, especially diabetics. That sugar problem again. We go back to that sugar problem again, and that diet problem can lead to that insulin problem, which leads to diabetes, which leads to nerve damage, which can lead to men having problems with erectile function. So that's one of the things that's important. The other part of that is vascular problems. Blocked arteries can lead to that as well. But men's health is one of those things you have to chase after. You can't just give up on it. You have to kind of go after it. So if there are problems, I'd encourage patients to write down your problems. Make sure you get to your primary care doctor. They're very busy people. They have 30 or 40 patients to see in a day. So make sure you write down your questions, your problems, and then address them, and bring those problems to your physicians to help you be healthier.
Again, Dr. Chris Lesar with us with Vascular Institute of Chattanooga, VIC, talking about important health risk for all men and what they need to be aware of, and really some early signs you mentioned of how people can maybe think that they're okay, but maybe they're not. All those signs that you mentioned, a numbness in the legs and all those type things and everything else that you talked about there. What is, the first step, I guess, is to recognize and convince yourself that there is a problem, not just keep putting it on the shelf like a lot of men do, unfortunately. And then the second one is to get to your healthcare provider, get that diagnosis, and then get it fixed, get it repaired. And you guys are a great source for being able to do that at VIC.
Yeah, we've really, I've been in Bradley County for almost 20 years, serving the community in different ways, and from the medical side. And about a couple of years ago, we opened up our center here on Paul Huff.
Yes, very nice facility.
And it's great, and it's organized, and it's convenient for people. And we do a lot of our surgical procedures in that center to actually fix arteries and help people. Sometimes we have to take people down to the main hospitals, the big medical centers, because of the complexity of the problems. But in general, we can do about 80% of our work here. So it's important that people identify that if you have a problem. Let's go back to that question you had. How do we know we have a problem? Well, if you can't walk normally, if you're having pain in your legs, that's not normal. If you're having a constant pain somewhere in the body, or you can't do the things you used to do, talk to your physician about that.
Yeah.
Now, the first part of that is you got to have a physician. So, there's about 15 to 20% of people that don't have primary care, they don't use primary care the proper way. And I would encourage people to establish that relationship. That is critical for your overall health, to make sure all your tests are done and your the screenings are done properly. One of the major reasons why men die also is cancer, and so lung cancer, colorectal cancer, and prostate cancer, many of these things can be prevented if you catch it early. Don't smoke, first of all. Don't get lung cancer. If you have a history of colorectal cancer in the family, screening is very important. If you haven't had your colonoscopy by 50, you need to have it. There's reasons why doctors tell people to do these things, and if we find disease early, we can stamp it out. You can live a lot longer, healthier life if we can find some of these problems. But the first thing is you have to engage with your medical care. If you don't engage with your own medical problems, then you're going to spin out of control at some point.
Yeah, that's good information. A lot of times, like I said earlier, a lot of men are very guilty of just wanting to put this on the shelf and thinking, this is something I'll get over, and then it lingers, and really years later you're still having these situations and you haven't addressed them, and that's when, unfortunately, sometimes it gets too late.
Things fall apart.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Chris Lesar again joining us with Vascular Institute, giving us some really good information as Men's Health Month here in the month of June. Very important, and I'm sure a lot of families would say this. So if you are a spouse or maybe young people listening and you maybe have recognized some of these signs in your own dad at home or your husband, maybe need to have a conversation with them. Maybe bring it up. Say, hey, look, I've noticed you've been having that little limp, or talking about numbness and this, that, and the other for a few months now. It's time to get you to our doctor and get something checked out here and see what's going on with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's critically important.
Yeah, very good conversation this morning. Dr. Chris Lesar, if people want more information about VIC, how can they get that?
Yeah, sure. You can jump onto the Vascular Institute of Chattanooga.com. That's our website, and it's a great source of information. I actually spent a lot of time creating the content in that website to help educate people. I think if you know what to ask for and you can learn about the problems, you can actually start to figure out how to fix these things. So it's a good resource for that.
Well, Dr. Lesar, thanks so much for coming in and bringing these topics up here at the beginning of the month for Men's Health Month. We appreciate you and appreciate your sponsorship of here at the station and what you guys are doing in the community as well.
Yep, this is a great team here.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.
We're going to get to some music right now. Stay here with us on Mix 104.1. It's cold
so far. And